Welcome to the School of Wine. I'm Ian Dogherty. Today I'm going to talk about aroma in wine, so you're going to need your noses at the ready. Aroma might sound really basic, but once you've got your nose tuned up, you'll be able to tell not only if your wine smells like wine, but also if it's gone bad, how it's been made, and possibly even a little about exactly what it is. Now, as we'll discover today, there are wines out there that are pretty easy to identify by smell alone. And given that you're capable of detecting 1 trillion individual smells, this is no mean feat, so go ahead and be proud of yourself. The red and white that I've picked today have very distinctive smells that people usually notice, so they're a great reference point. Now let's start with the white. It's a Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand, and I've picked it for the strength of its nose. This one, for example, has such a strong aroma that I can smell it from here. Now, get right in the glass and get a noseful. Well, I can smell gooseberry really strongly. Fruity and fresh with that little bit of fresh cut grass that tells you this is New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. Now, like my generation who could apparently tell it was tighter even when our eyes were shut, you should be able, with a bit of practice, to tell New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc with your eyes shut. But we can do better than that. Wine and oxygen are in a constant fight for supremacy in this world. Wine for freshness, oxygen for aging and changing, but they really need each other. So in order to really unlock the aromas here, we're going to start swirling. And there's a pro tip for you. Swirling your wine around the glass breaks up the surface area and gets the oxygen into it, unlocking the aroma. Now you can swirl like I'm doing, either by holding the base or the stem, but if you're worried about getting a little bit over enthusiastic and flinging wine down your best top, and keep the glass on the table and swizz it there. Now the net effect is the same, but until you get your legs, this is much safer. Now, give it another sniff. You notice anything? It's stronger, it's much bigger and more obvious, but primarily fruity, which is really typical of this kind of wine and really typical of wine that is made in stainless steel. How a wine is made really affects the aroma, and to illustrate that, we'll take this red wine. Now it's a Cabernet Sauvignon from South Africa, and by sniffing it, the first thing you'll notice is the fruit. Loads of blackcurrant and brambles. Brilliant, boring. What we're interested in here is the other smells, the woody, spicy smells, which will tell you as much about how this wine was made as does the smack of fruit in the Sauvignon Blanc. They tell you that this wine has spent some of its life in an oak barrel. Spicy notes like cloves, woody notes like cedar, and something like vanilla all get into the wine as it ages in oak. Now in this wine I get some black pepper as well as the blackcurrant, and something like the bottom of an old pencil case. And there's your second pro tip. How a wine is made and aged can affect the taste and smell just as much as the grapes themselves. So in this wine I get lovely blackcurrant that is so typical of Cabernet Sauvignon, and also that pencily smell that a gently oaked Cabernet often displays. Now both red wines and white wines take on aromas as they are made. And if you want to practice sniffing and tasting for these, then have a go on a Chablis and an Australian Chardonnay. They're made with the same grape, but crucially are made with different amounts of oak. You should be able to spot that telltale woody, vanilla, spice. And even if you can't, well then you've got 2 very nice bottles of wine to drink with some nice seafood or perhaps a nice creamy chicken dish. To try it with reds, go for a good Argentinian Malbec for full-on oak, and a light and easy Valpolicella from Italy for something a bit gentler. Look for the same thing, wood, vanilla, spice. And again, if you're left wanting, then go and get a nice bit of steak for the Malbec and something easy like pasta with a pesto sauce through it for that Valpol. Next time we're going to have a bit of fun and we're going to do some blind tasting. So until then, this is Ian Dogherty from the School of Wine wishing you happy tasting.